Hey guys, Andy here from Mediocre Hobbies, bringing you another Middle-earth Monday video and another video in the Pelennor Fields playlist. We are starting to really chuck through videos in this and it's now back over to the good side, so it's time to tackle some of those beautiful Rohan miniatures. And I was trying to decide what I would do. Would I jump straight into Theoden and give you an in-depth video on how to paint him? And then I thought it might be much more useful if I show you how to paint the basic infantry or the basic horse cavalry miniature. And then I thought about it even further, and I thought about back when I was a kid and when I started Lord of the Rings, how much trouble horses gave me. And I thought it would be a useful video if I showed you guys a couple of quick and easy techniques to get a couple of different color schemes of horses painted up, and then you can mix and match them throughout your Lord of the Rings army. So in Rohan, I was only thinking about this before I made the video, thinking about the color schemes that I would use. So I've gone for a grey, a tan, and a brown horse. In this video, I'm going to show you how to paint all three of those. The thing about it, a unit of Rohan cavalry is 12 strong. So you do each of these schemes 4 times and mix them all around. You'll have this beautiful unit of horses. I realized that there is no black or white horses in the Rohan force. It's like the white is pure, so that's just Shadowfax, and black is just evil, so that's just Ringwraith. And it's basically all the colors in between are ones that are used in the Rohan forces. So I think that's my take on it. I don't know whether you guys have any other opinions, and if you do, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Before I get into the video, huge thank you to all my patrons. There's nearly 120 of you guys now, so it's growing to quite a nice little community, and lots of stuff going on the Discord server as well. It's really fun and interesting time. If you're interested in supporting me, the best way to do it is Patreon. Links to it below. Access to a private Discord server and an extra video every single week just for you guys. So 52 extra videos from me a year just for my patrons. I think it's pretty good. Okay, without further ado, let's start painting some horses. And here are the 3 horses that I'm going to be using for today's video. Standard Rohan cavalry models. That's actually kind of the standard Rohan horses, so it doesn't really matter which Rohan miniatures you're painting, whether it be Outriders or Royal Guard. They all go on the same horses, I believe. Maybe Royal Guard have metal horses. I don't think so though. Metal War have these same horses. So all I did was spray the miniatures black and then give them a Grey Seer spray over the top of that. It gives me a perfect base coat to start working up the contrast colors. The first one I'm doing is the tan horse, and for that one I'm using Aggros Dunes, and I'm applying that on all the skin of the horses. Like I said, sorry, this one's a little bit out of focus. The purpose of my videos are not to give you these like god level paint jobs. This is to help you guys get the 12 horses that are in your Pelennor Fields box, or the 30 cavalry you might have across your entire Rohan collection. You could do like all 30 of your horses you could do in a single day with these kind of techniques, which I think would be a huge weight off anyone's shoulder if they're trying to do one of those armies. So Aggros Dune on all the horse, trying not to hit any of the bridles or the saddles and stuff. If you do, it's not the end of the world, but do try your best not to. Basilicanum Grey, because I like the kind of smoky grey coloured horses as well. They were quite common with the Rohan. Yeah, same thing again, apply to all of the horse's skin, fur, hair. What does a horse have? Hair? They don't have to be brushed, therefore they probably have hair. I'm going to go with hair. Just make sure you get it in all the nooks and crannies. One of the things to remember about these miniatures is that when you're building them, do take your time to remove as much of the mold lines as possible. These models are 20 years old and the mold lines on them are horrific. Gore Grunt of Fur contrast was then used for the third horse skin tone. It said skin again, fur, to give me that light kind of chocolatey brown colored horses. Now with this technique, it's basically any kind of brownish toned contrast paints you could use on one of these Rohan horses. If you just pick the appropriate paint to layer it up afterwards, you can totally do a million other colors. But these are basically the 3 colors that I'm going to go for. And of course they look trash now. It's just one coat of contrast on them. We've got a lot more work to go. But these are the 3 colors that I'm going to go for. And like I said, the miniatures come in 12s. So you do 4 of each in this tone and then mix them all together. I think you're going to have a really nice set of horses. If you have like 30 horses in your army, just think about it. It's this scheme, each of these schemes 10 times and then mixed all together. I think they're going to look fantastic. I think it's better than if you just have one color horse and then you just replicate that over and over again. I think that's when it looks a little bit odd. Creed camo is used for kind of the blanket thing that goes under the horse's saddle. It's obviously the Rohan color. You can change that up if you want to. If you want your Rohan to be mostly Royal Guard and they have like big red capes, if you want that bit to be red to tie in with those, go for it. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. They're looking quite well already. Wyldwood is used for all of the saddles and all of the bridles and whatever the thing you hold is called. Reins. Not good with names today, apparently. I don't know much about horses. And cowboy movies are my favourites. That's a bad sign. So yeah, Wyldwood on the saddle, and then all of the straps and stuff. Now you want to be careful with the Wyldwood, as it's quite a dark contrast, which is great if you make any mistakes previously on the skin and you hit any of the reins of the saddle, it'll go over like no problem. But obviously the reverse is true now. If you accidentally hit the skin, now it's going to stain it. Even though we're going to be doing some layering work later on, if you can control it a little bit, make sure you don't, then you can. And if you make a mistake, don't worry, you can fix it later. A small coat of lead belcher on all of the kind of armored head plates. It's the only armor that's really on any of these Rohan horses, is on the bit that covers up their nose and their faces. Do horses have faces? Oh my god, here I go again. A little bit of Screamer Pink was used just for their tongues. Once again, very quick step, they do have tongues. And you don't have to do a lot of work with them. One coat of Screamer Pink before we do the shading of it, and that's it. I don't even layer it up later on because it's such a small detail in the miniature. And a bit of raised bone. I've started to use this more and more for bits like this, just for the teeth. Obviously the tongue and teeth are extra bits that you don't have to do if you don't want to add that little bit of detail into the models. After a shade and a bit of layering, you probably won't notice that these aren't done. But you do notice when they are done that they are done, if you know what I mean. It adds a little extra touch. I then used Seraphim Sepia and applied this shade over all three horses from top to bottom, snout to tail. This helps tie all the tones together, add a little bit more shading into the skin. And obviously gives us a really nice indication as to where the layering will go. This is my normal technique to apply all the base coats with contrast, shade it all down, and then do a bit of layer work. It takes absolutely no time whatsoever. While the shade is also drying, I'm going to take the time to base the miniatures up. I always find this to be a really nice time to get some basing material on the miniature. And then as we go into the layering stage, we're basically layering horses up to completion because the bases are done. It's just what I like to do. I think they already look much better when their bases are done. So here they are, my tan, grey and brown horses. And now we're obviously going to go back to the individual side of things. We're going to work on each horse individually for the skin tone. And you can make this as complicated as you want. If you want to go and learn how to paint the fur pattern or model pattern or anything, I'm not going to bother doing any of that. I'm going to do a single layer job on each of the horses. I'm going to start with Stormvermin Fur. On the grey horse, Stormvermin Fur is like a slaty grey brown, or slaty brown grey. Obviously if you just had done like any of the other normal greys, it would have looked like a stone, and he doesn't. Grey horses don't look like stone, so I think the Stormvermin Fur is the best way to do it, to get that more natural tone into the fur. And as you can see, all I'm doing is picking out the heavy musculature of the horse, more like a feathering technique. It's really simple and really quick to do. Like I said, you only have to do this across 10 horses of grey, and you'll have a really nice unit. With the tan horse, I went for Zandri Dust, and then it's exactly the same step. Adding that bright tan colour in and just layering it up like I did the previous one. Fine pointed brush, taking my time with this. And like I said, it's kind of like a feathering thing. I usually follow the same direction on each part of the miniature. Which I know is going to sound a bit weird, but yeah. I find that helps to make the brush strokes look a little bit more natural. And it kind of works a treat. We will be doing something slightly different with the mane and the tail of the horses, so don't worry about those too much. I haven't forgotten about them. I know they are quite important parts of the model that will stand out. With the chocolate brown kind of horse, we went for the Mournfang Brown. And then same thing again, just took my time, layered it up, following the natural musculature of the horse. The shade has obviously let us know where all of those are. Anywhere where you see dark lines or shadow, we're going to leave those behind. And it's only kind of the large flat parts of the miniature that we're going to layer up. And because it's a entirely natural piece, you're not trying to get straight edges or really neat lines or, you know, completely opaque. It's a little bit kind of see-through here. There, it's totally fine. It's just going to add to the effect of it being a horse. Now, we'll talk a little bit at the end of the video about the idea that although I am enjoying painting these horses, and when I'm finished painting the horses, I quite like the job I did, they don't look finished at all because they're missing their rider. So you'll get to see the riders painted up next week, and then I think stuck on, and then you'll see, I think it'll be a lot cooler looking then. Wa Flesh is what I used to highlight the Creed Camo contrast. I think that splash of green in again. And once again, even though it's a piece of cloth, it's also like natural tones with Rohan. I'm just following the natural creases, which that shade of course has shown me. That's another very quick, very easy step. Being careful not to hit anything else with the green. From here, we are going to go to Rhinox Hide, and this is what we're going to use to layer up the saddle and the bridle and the reins and all that. Once again, Rhinox Hide is one of my favorite dark browns to do this because it has that hint of red in it. It gives it a really nice warm texture, which makes it feel more like leather. Whereas something like Dryad Bark it has none of that warmth to it. It's a really cold color, so that's why I think it works better for like earth and ground and tree limbs and stuff. Okay, now for those manes and thing, I'm going to go for 3 different colors for 3 different horses. So Gargak Sewer is the one I'm going to use for the brown horse. And I'm going to paint in his mane and his tail in that color. This is a very interesting step as well, because you don't have to do this for the same as I do. So for instance, like I said, if you've got 12 horses and 4 of them are going to be in each of these schemes, you can change up the color of the mane and the tail with any other kind of brown contrasts that you have. And that will of course change the 4 grey horses to be slightly different from each other, as you know what I mean? It's just, that's kind of up to you. So I went for black for the grey horse. And then controversially, I went for Ironjawz Yellow for the tanned horse to give it kind of like a blondie look. Which may have been a bad choice, but I actually really like how it turned out. I think the tan horse is actually my favorite one. I added some basing material because it's super important to remember that Lord of the Rings miniatures are super basic. 20 years old, I said it 3 times now. So doing a really nice base on them really will add a lot and make them really stand out and look great. And like I said, I'm super pleased with the result. Cannot wait to see them next week with the riders on top. I think that will encourage me to get the rest of my Rohan forces painted up and get some Rohan games in at some point in the near future. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And there we have it, 3 Rohan horses painted up and not quite ready for the tabletop. So I didn't show you any in-depth pictures of these things at the end, right? These are 21-year-old miniatures. They're very old, not a lot of crazy detail on them. I think the schemes that we pulled off in this are really nice, but it still looks like to me half a miniature. So in next week's video, I'm going to show you how to paint Rohan infantry, and that will also include the riders that go on top of the horses. So I'm going to paint up 3 riders, and then at the end of next week's video, you will see them on top of the horses and see how cool they all look as thing. Right now, although I'm really happy with how they turned out, they still look like they're missing something. So yeah, tune in next week to see a finished Rohan cavalry. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you let me know in the comments below. It really does mean the world to me. Give the video a like, and if you're not already subscribed, please do subscribe. Let me know that you're enjoying Middle-earth Monday and you want to see more content like that. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one.